Next up, we got book number 4, number quattro, Ich ni san shi in Japanese. We got Little Depressed Boy number 2. Let me just go ahead and mention that this is a book that has made my list 2 months in a row. Little Depressed Boy number 1 was fantastic. Little Depressed Boy number 2 is equally awesome. This issue focuses around Little Depressed Boy, basically trying to figure out what his new girlfriend's name is. And it's a cute little story. It's got, his friend trying to get her name from the comic book shop. They go bowling, and they do style points, and you got Hadouken, which is so badass. And you got zombies. I mean, if you like it, it's in this book. There's zombies, there's bowling, there's awesome relationship stuff if you're, more into the emotional, fun stuff like that. This is definitely a first love type book, in the best sense of the term. It's just so fucking good. I mean, look at the art here, guys. Sienna Grace dominates on this art. And Steven Struble, also equally amazing in the writing. The writing is so compelling. You've got these great characters that you really latch onto in 2 issues and really feel a connection to. And I can't help but be absolutely in love with Little Depressed Boy. And as we find out, his girlfriend's name is Jazz. And I love Jazz. I feel that Jazz is such a great counterpoint to the Little Depressed Boy. Obviously he's that melodramatic guy, that emo style type deal. Oh, woe is me. We've all been there. And then you got that person that kind of is that light in your life that really pulls you out of that funk. In this, it's Jazz. And I'm really enjoying the story of seeing the two, the yin and the yang, kind of interact here with Jazz and Little Depressed Boy. It's just so good, and the art is fantastic. There's just little things. In the first issue, there was the way that, Jazz was, well, now that we know Jazz was following Little Depressed Boy kind of down the street, the little hop step. That was fantastic stuff. Then you got stuff like the Hadouken here. I love the Hadouken. And just little things, like the zombie stuff is fantastic. Just overall, there's some great stuff in this book. And it's, what I also love about this book is that it's different from everything else I read. And I don't mean that in the sense that I like it because everything else I read sucks. I just mean there's so much of the stuff that's out there that's alike. There's a lot of times you could say, this book is something that's like this. If you read Little Depressed Boy, find me something that you're like instantly, and that is such a direct comparison that you can be like, Little Depressed Boy's like blank. Send me that comment, because I can't find it. And when I can find a comic book that is not something I can directly compare to something else, I enjoy it that much more, okay? Uniqueness in an industry where everything is very much the same, which is not necessarily always a bad thing, okay? Obviously, I'm a big superhero fan, so a lot of that shit is very redundant. But this is just such a good, unique, heartfelt book. This is the kind of book that you read it, and you just kind of feel good afterwards. And who doesn't want something that makes them kind of feel good afterwards? There's so much hate out there, and dreariness, and woe is me. And then there's a book they call Little Depressed Boy, which leaves you anything but depressed. Okay? Good book. You should buy it. It definitely works for me as a 4th pick. I just love it. And I met Sienna Grace, and fantastic individual, man. That guy was so nice. He drew me an awesome Little Depressed Boy, which I'm going to share with you now. Look at that. That's awesome. That's so cool. It's probably my favorite sketch that I got from Emerald City Comic Con. Very cool stuff. Sienna Grace, top-notch gentleman. Alright, next up, we're in the top 3 now. Exciting! No? No, it's not exciting? Tough fucking luck. Alright, first up, we got Death of Spider-Man Prelude. It finally begins. Ultimate Spider-Man, number 155. This is the issue before Bagley returns. While I love the Bagley return issue, I love this issue more. The Samney art, Chris Samney, tag team with Brian Michael Bendis. If ever Bagley leaves again, Samney needs to jump in. This was just such a great issue. As somebody who picked up the very first Ultimate Spider-Man issue and really fell in love with Spider-Man, I'm not going to lie, I fell in love with Spider-Man through the Ultimate Spider-Man stuff. I grew up in an age of Clone Wars, so all I ever heard was, or not Clone Wars, not my generation. I grew up in a generation of just clones, Spider-Man clones, Ben Reilly, and all I ever heard was, that shit is terrible, that shit is terrible, so I never picked up Spider-Man. Then Ultimate Spider-Man came, and I picked that up, and then I picked up J. Michael Straczynski stuff, which was also awesome. How he got from that to Grounded, I will never know. But it happens. But this issue was so good. This was basically getting back to a status quo without being status quo. I think I talked about this last time. Basically, you've got Spider-Man coming back to work for the Bugle. You've got him back with Mary Jane. Everything is kind of happy again, and things are kind of centering themselves, you know. Him and J. Jonah Jameson have an understanding. They both know what's going on now. There's no lies. And J. Jonah Jameson's essentially financing him. Then you've got, you know, fucking everything just hitting the fan from there, ladies and gentlemen. It's just such good stuff. I keep saying such good. You got Kitty, you've got a surprise birthday party, which shows, like, at least some time is elapsing here. You've got Mary Jane back with Peter Parker, which I especially loved. You know, and so for those of you that are like, where, Mary Jane? She's not with Peter anymore. Well, she's back with him in the Ultimate Universe. Why don't you go check it out? Buy it, Mary Jane and Peter Parker fans. You'll like it. Or you might not. You might be one of those comic book fans that just didn't like anything. Everything should be the way I want it. And it should stay that way. Fuck plot movement. Anyway, Chris Samney's art here, stellar. I mean, I know this guy's picked up some definite fanfare over the last year. A little title with maybe the God of Thunder helped him quite a bit. I don't know, some people might have liked that book. I don't know, that's what I hear. Good book. I don't know what else to say here. I just really enjoyed this book. You know, and some of these books are a little... I pick books based on an emotional level sometimes, and less about, you know, like, oh, that scene looked awesome, or that art was awesome. Sometimes a book just connects with you emotionally. And this book really helped tap me into some nostalgia. Every once in a while, you know, you feel a little old. You find out, you know, or you're just reading a book. Now, God, that's so good. It reminds me of, bam, and you think, man, how far have I traveled since then? Since then, I've gotten married. I got 2 kids, and I got one coming on the way and 1 here. Weird. I've graduated college. You know, it's just, you have these milestones. And for me, unfortunately, or some people would say unfortunately, I say awesomely, comic books tend to be a milestone for me, man. There's a lot of mileposts for me in my life that follow the comic book industry. I love the comic book industry. I love comic books. And Ultimate Spider-Man, one of my favorite all-time titles, consistently. And I feel like this is one of the better issues in a long time. And so I was very excited moving into the Bagley issue, which was equally excellent. But, well, not quite equally excellent, or otherwise you'd see it in the list. But the Samney stuff was great, and I would love to see Samney stick around after Bagley leaves, because I can't imagine Bagley will stay on Ultimate Spider-Man. But it was nice. You get one Ultimate Spider-Man issue where everything feels like it's just in place. And then 156, shit explodes as it should in Peter Parker's life. Alright, we're in the top 2. Oh, and while we're talking about, you know, just repetitiveness here, we have 2 Bendis books, 2 Brubaker books, 2 Jeff Lemire books. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 books there. 6 of them belong to 3 people. Pretty interesting. And looking at it, we've got 1 Marvel book, 2 Icon books, 2 Marvel books, 3 Marvel books. We got a lot of Marvel here. And then we also have Vertigo, and we've got Image, and we've got Icon. So what do we got left? Top 2 books. Number 2, we've got Invincible, number 78. This was a beautiful book. last issue, I wasn't such a big fan of the way the Viltrumite War ended. It's like, we'll let you stay. Okay. All this battle for nothing. Good night. And it's just like, what? But then this issue, you've got Invincible's dad making up with his mom, kind of. You've got them shutting down some of the Invincible cyborgs, which was really cool. It's like, we're going to shut down. The dude's like, bummer. And then you've got moments that are incredibly touching where, he walks in on Invincible comes in on Eve and is just like, oh, wow, you're pregnant. You're super pregnant. And she's like, I never thought you were coming back. And they just cuddle, and you get lost in moments like that in this book where you're just, I don't even know how to describe it. Kirkman does such an amazing job with the interpersonal communication portion of it. Just the actual building of relationships of his characters. The relationship building is one thing. The other thing he does great is the individual building of a character. You just really start to get to a point where you feel for them, and then he builds up characters around those characters who you really feel for. And the next thing you know, you're feeling for all of them, and then Kirkman's killing them. That's what he does. That's what he does. He makes you care, and then he kills them. He's a very fickle comic god. But an amazing comic god he is. But Invincible 78 here is so good on multiple fronts. You have so much working there that has been built upon for so long. Like I said, you got Invincible's mom and dad working together, and that's something that at one point you could easily have said that would never happen. But Kirkman is such a master of the writing art of comics and the art of comics in general that he's able to prevent you from really feeling that disbelief. I mean, he breaks that wall down, moves you forward, and there you are, and you feel for it. He's just such a phenomenal writer in that regard. And Invincible with Ryan Ottley, who is always phenomenal. That guy, Ottley, battle scenes, emotional scenes, conquers them both. How many artists can you find, that are able to conquer both types of scenes in such a dramatic fashion? You're not going to find anybody better at showing somebody getting their brains and eyeballs pulled out of their skull. You're not going to find anybody who does a more shocking, oh my god, you're pregnant, I missed you, I love you, cuddle in bed scene, okay? The guy just has all elements of the storytelling down pat. Ottley is ridiculous on the awesome scale. To you, Ottley. And with Kirkman on board with him, it's just an unstoppable group. This is a point where you could add, the Juggernaut. Just, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch! That's what they do. They just plow through shit. If you think there's a disbelief wall there, Kirkman and Ottley destroy it. And they just move beyond it and say, no, this is reality, and this is what it is, and it's awesome. And you buy it, and I buy it, and it is great. So, for this month, Invincible, number 78, is my number 2 pick of the month. Number 1 is, oh my god, it's that Kirkman guy again. Walking Dead, number 83. You've got Kirkman, and you've got Charlie Adler, and you've got all kinds of holy shit. After last issue, you basically know that shit is going to just erode, okay? You've got people who are dying, and in this issue, some of those people fully die. And we're going into spoilers here. His son gets shot in the fucking head. His whole eye and the whole side is gone. And Walking Dead is one of those books where, as a father, the stuff that happens with his son, I try to put myself in his shoes and think, wow, what would that be like to know that you have to put your son in those positions and know that you have to deal with your son as a small child shooting things and protecting himself and killing other kids. And, I mean, the shit that he has seen with his son, I couldn't even fathom. But it's all done so believably, I mean, in an environment such as that, what else could you imagine besides that being the reality of it? In this issue, you've got a huge cleaning of the fucking slate. A lot of characters get dominated in this issue. Again, all culminating in his son getting shot in the face. Rick's son just takes a bullet to the face from the crazy guy that's running the joint. it's just so ridiculous. And it's so emotional when he's just like, save my son. He's so panicked about his son. And he lets the girl that he's been with die because he cuts her fucking hand off because she's holding him. It is so ridiculous. Oh my god. I don't know what else I can say about this book. This book is so good, and the conclusion is coming this next month here, I think in April. And Kirkman, god damn, dude, what a genius. I kind of spoke on Invincible. The guy is just so good at building those relationships like he did in this book, you know? You get the whole built-up relationship with, you know, Rick and the girl and her kids, and last issue, he gives you the complete foreshadowing of what's going to happen in this book. He says, with Rick Grimes, they're not my kids. They're not our kids, he says. But essentially what it means is they're not my kid. And so this issue, you've got that. It's, you know, he's got an option. Choose this chick who I'm kind of digging and her kid, or take my goddamn kid. And he's just like, chop your hand off, take my kid, run like hell. And then his kid gets shot. So kind of fucked up, kind of karma-esque. Oh man, Walking Dead is so good. So good. I mean, really, what else is there to say? You know, a lot of the times me and David had joked on 4Color, we just leave Walking Dead off because it's just that good consistently. But this is one of those issues that is better than the standard good, okay? In this book, I don't give 10s. I don't give 10s ever. But I'm going to go ahead and give this book like a 9.8. 9.8. It is just so solid from the beginning to the end. Charlie Adler's art, the image of Rick's kid's face just gone is so jaw-dropping. You get to that page and you're just like, and as a father, my heart broke because the first thought I had is, oh my god, he's dead. Carl is dead. Carl is dead. Rick is going to lose his shit. And that is when you know you're reading an excellently done comic. When you find yourself feeling emotionally distraught for a non-existent character. Where you have that moment, you're like, oh my god, poor Rick. And you step back and you think, wait a minute, what do you mean poor Rick? Rick isn't real. But you don't care. Because you're just like, you know, you're going through those motions. And that's what Kirkman does, man. Invincible, Walking Dead, I just want to clap. Because Walking Dead is the champ this month. Come on. How many shows are you going to find where they wrap a championship belt on the comic book? Come on. This is like geek euphoria. If there was some World of Warcraft in here, people's heads and balls would be exploding with jism. Anyway, Walking Dead number 83. Good issue. Is it better than Amazing Spider-Man? Silent Love issue? I don't know. At the end of the year, we'll have to see. But I'll tell you this much. That issue was phenomenal, and I highly recommend Walking Dead to all of those of you who just wandered into comics or don't have your head quite out of your ass yet. Check that book out. So what's our count here? Let's as we wrap this up, let's check it out. Let's check publishers. We got 1, 2, 3. We got 3 Image titles. 1 Vertigo, 1 DC, 2 Icon, and 4 Marvel. So Marvel and Image tend to dominate here. If you really want to combine things, you got DC and Vertigo. I would like to think of them as 2 separate since they don't really intermix anyway. But if you really want to get pushy, you got 2. Which still does not put them beyond Image. And if you really want to combine that, then you got to put Icon over there. And Marvel dominates, sitting at 6 books. So if you're looking at overall publishers, you got Marvel at 6, you got Image at 3, and you got DC at 2. Which is funny because the DC and Vertigo are both Jeff Lemire. Marvel, again, you got 2 Brubaker. You got, what do you got? You got 2 Brubaker, you got 2 Bendis. So there's definitely a pattern here. But overall, you've got some great books. So, you know, what is there to complain about? I got 11 books that I truly enjoyed and loved, and felt good enough to sit here and rant about how much I like them. So, what more could I want? I love me some comic books, and for all those involved in these books that I loved, you know, solid thank you and a drink to you. If I ever see you out at a convention, I owe you a drink. Come over and be like, Burpee, you owe me a drink, and I'll buy you a drink. Or if you see me, be like, I hate that fucker. Like Greg Land, I'm sure Greg Land's like, oh, Greg Land faces, I'll kill you! Ah! He'll find me one day. That's how I'll die. Greg Land will just smile me to death. Anyway, next week we're back to the grind. We do weekly, so check it out. Thanks for joining me. If you made it through all of this, thank you even more because, you know, obviously I'm clearly not as entertaining as maybe I should be for a program that, as my clock is showing, about 1 minute and 4 I've been filming myself. So what this will cut down to be, I don't know. Anyway, say hello again to Booster. Say goodbye to Booster. My cat is cruising around. My cat kind of wants to say bye. Say bye, Lily. Okay, good talk. And again, the champion of the month, Walking Dead number 83. So we'll put that aside and we'll take a look. When it comes to the year end, will that make it as the book of the year for me? We'll see. Anyway, wrap it up, bitches. Since I got the orange shirt on, let's just do it. Alright, that's my cat, you can hear. Red Sox, please start winning some games. Thank you, good night, good fight.